Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more adventures in the Fabled Lands. Here we have our priestess Omule in the city of Sakara preparing to leave. Now, last time she gained the quest to go and rescue Solveneris, the Lord of Thunder, from the storm demons at the top of the Devil's Peak, which is up here. It was described as a tall volcanic spire. Now, in the marketplace, here, we have some very expensive climbing gear, which she simply cannot afford. So I think, while we could attempt to scale the mighty spire, we're better off trying to deliver the oak staff to the Druid in the forest here on the mainland. Let's head up. No, let's go to Curstmoor. It's on the way to Devil's Peak. You are trekking across the aptly named Curstmoor. A great rolling expanse of blasted heath stretches before you. Grey clouds hang over a mournful, dirty water-coloured plain, studded with rocky outcrops and low hills. A raven flutters to the ground nearby, eyeing you curiously. His brothers caw loudly into the echoing sky. Dusk falls, and in the dim twilight a herd of horses comes streaking out of the night straight at you. As they near, it seems to you that their hooves are not touching the ground, and from their manes trail wispy clouds of sparks like tiny stars. This seems like a magical and mystical experience. Omule will mount one of these steeds. You stand your ground. The ghostly horses stream past you on either side, neighing wildly at the sky. Nimbly you leap at one and manage to wrap your arms around its neck and swing up onto its back. The horse feels quite solid, but appears to be a luminous pale green colour. You look up through a cloud of sparks emanating from the horse's mane just in time to see a rocky wall of a low hill looming up out of the evening mist. Your horse is galloping full tilt right into it. Look, the horse knows what it's doing. If this was a real obstacle, the horse would stop, so I'm going to hold on. The horse and you hit the wall. There is a bright flash, and you find you have passed straight through into the hill. It must be a fairy mound. The horse you are riding abruptly changes shape in a puff of smoke. You find yourself on the back of a little, knobbly-limbed, white-faced goblin who promptly collapses under your weight. You're in a cavern lit by mouse-sized fairy folk who flit about in the air, blazing like fireflies. The other horses have also turned into goblins, elves, and fairies of all shapes and sizes. What have we here? Whispers a pale, dark-eyed elf woman, dressed in silvery cobwebs and wearing a gold crown.
An overweight mortal sitting on poor old Gobrash, your majesty,
groans the goblin you are sitting on. You realise you're in great danger here. There's no telling what the fairy folk will do to you. The queen signals to her people and they close in around you ominously. Sanctity is our main point, but we do need to roll a 4, so pretty good odds. There we go. You recite a devotional prayer to the gods, calling on your faith to aid you. The goblin folk are repelled by your piety and purity of spirit. Even Gobrash finds the strength to get out from under you and run off, such is your effect on them. Snarls the queen, recoiling. Please, your godliness is harmful to us. Here, take this and leave. A jug of fairy mead and an enchanted spear are pushed towards you. We'll take those, absolutely then. The wall behind you shimmers and disappears. You step through back into the cold night air of the Cursed Moor. You leave the fairy mound far behind and camp for the night. The next day you resume your travels. Let's make a move. Living dangerously, we'll go to Caddeville's Peak. You're crossing the western wilderness, an expanse of wild, sparsely populated countryside. A few trappers and woodsmen make a living from the natural resources of the area. A tall spire of rock, a towering anomaly of geology, rises up into the clouds, dominating the horizon. A local hunter tells you it's known as Devil's Peak and that the summit is infested with demons. May we climb it? Oh, we don't have climbing gear. You're standing at the bottom of the Devil's Peak. It is a massive tower of black rock like a stone tree trunk, bare and branchless, climbing up into the sky. You cannot see the top, for it is shrouded in grey clouds. Thunder and lightning play about the clouded summit. The sides of the peak are almost sheer, but there are many hand and footholds. It can be climbed, but only if you have some climbing gear. And that is expensive. Let us depart and head instead for the Forest of Larun. The roadside tavern was nice, but we've got something to do in the Forest of Larun here, as displayed by this giant yellow exclamation mark. The Forest of Larun is a mighty swathe of densely packed trees, a slice of primordial nature in the middle of busy, industrious Socara. You thread your way through the ranks of trees. In places, the forest canopy almost blocks out the sunlight completely, and you are wandering in deep shadow, haunted by the cries of the creatures of the forest. We have an oak staff, and we seek the Willow Druid. You are on a quest to take the oak staff to the Willow Druid, who lives in a sacred grove somewhere in the forest. You wander around, looking for unusual tracks, strange creatures, anything that might lead you to a druid's den. Well, this is going to be a bit difficult. Okay. Fair enough. You come across a forest glade. Birds twitter in the trees, and woodland animals frolic playfully about. In the middle of the glade stands a mighty willow, ancient beyond reckoning. The trunk is hollow, and a wooden door has been set in the entrance. You step into the glade and make a sanctity roll. Oh, that's not good. Your mind is blasted into numb confusion by the protective spells that guard the sacred grove. You wander off aimlessly in the forest and get hopelessly lost for days. You don't even have the wits to eat and drink. You wander around for days, until you finally emerge at the Bronze Hills. You're walking through the Bronze Hills. Virtually the whole area has been given over to mining. Everywhere, quarries and mine shafts abound. It is a horrible expanse of torn-up earth. Hardly any areas of green are left. Great clumps of excavated rock, leached of their useful minerals, mar the landscape. You find a quarry that is open to the public. That is to say, if you pay 50 shards, you can dig for an hour in the silver mine. I do not have 50 shards. I'll go back to the Forest of Larun. This might take a bit of a while. Let's seek the Willow Druid. We're probably going to fail. Oh no, we passed the scouting roll. That's good. And a sanctity roll. Come on, we can't fail this twice in a row. Well, we can, but the odds are pretty slim. You are pious enough to be allowed to enter the sacred grove. You step in and knock at the door. A kindly old druid opens the door and greets you. You hand him the oak staff. Thank you, says the druid. An oak staff, eh? That's an interesting message, to be sure. He hands you 50 shards as payment and a willow staff, saying, Please take this staff to the Oak Druid in the City of Trees on the Isle of Druids. I'm sure he'll reward you too. Good day, and thanks again. With that, he shuts the door, and we remember to take the willow staff with us. Let's head back into the forest. And venture deeper into the forest. You hack your way through the undergrowth until you stumble across an old ruin. Creepers and forest moss have grown Creepers and forest moss have grown over most of it, but you can see mask-like faces set into the walls, glaring down at you as if in angry outrage at your intrusion. You come to a massive stone slab, clearly a door. Set in the middle of it is a round granite face, the visage of a sleeping demon. Suddenly, an eye pops open and regards you curiously.
By the tentacles of Tantalon,
exclaims Venafax in a gravelly voice.
A human? I haven't seen one of you lot for 100 years.
An expression of suspicion forms on its rocky features.
What do you want, eh?
I'm just passing through, you comment airily.
Well, you can't pass through me unless you know the password. And that was given to me by Astralis, the Wizard King. Let me see now. 100 years ago, by Ebron. This is his tomb, you know.
The Tasks of Tantalon was an old puzzle game book with beautiful illustrations from the late 1980s or early 1990s. I don't know if anyone actually managed to complete it. There was actually a cash prize reward for whoever could complete all the puzzles first. And you were supposed to look in the pictures to find clues. What it actually was writing microscopically small, hidden within the pictures that you had to look for. And none of us knew that back in the day. I mean, most of us didn't even have a microscope. I don't think anyone has ever claimed the prize. How do I find the password then? You ask.
Well, says the demon door, Astralis was a wizard, so why don't you ask some wizards?
Where would I find some wizards, you ask?
How would I know? Replies the door testily. I've been stuck here for 1,000 years.
You decide it is time to leave. Let's head off to the main road. The road is nearly blocked by wagons and supply convoys. A group of soldiers forces its way through the throng. The men bang heads indiscriminately to clear people out of the way. Fortunately, nothing out of the way happened. You join the much-travelled road that connects Trefoil and Karambaru. The traffic mostly consists of convoys and troops and supplies. Eventually you come to the weary Pilgrim Tavern, a way station between the cities. The tavern costs you 1 shard a day. Each day you spend here you recover 1 stamina point if injured up to the limit of your normal unwounded stamina score. Well, let's take it nice and slow, no need to rush it all at once. Do I want to go for rumours? I'm starting to get good money. Sure, why not? A trader from the far north tells a story about a great wizard, Targdaz, the Magnificent, who was tricked by a shaman of the Horde of the Thousand Winds on the Great Steppes.
He imprisoned Targdaz inside a giant ruby and proceeded to loot Targdaz's tower, but in his stupidity he opened the great wizard's casket of imponderables and unleashed a terrible storm that swept across the steppes, scattering many of the tribes far and wide. The shaman was killed, of course, but as far as anyone knows, Targdaz is still trapped in the ruby, waiting patiently for release. Perhaps for another 100 years, who knows? One thing's for certain, it won't be me trying to get him out.
There's not much else to hear. Casket of Imponderables. If we ever find Targdaz's tower and the Great Ruby, we should try not to open a casket. Let's depart from this place and head back down to Yellowport. Yellowport is the second largest city in Saqqara. It is mainly a trading town and is known for its exotic goods from distant Ankonkanu way to the south. The Stinking River brings rich deposits of sulfur from the Lake of the Sea Dragon down to the town, where it is extracted and stored in the large waterfront warehouses run by the Merchants Guild. From here, the mineral is exported all over Harkuna. Unfortunately, all that sulfur has its drawbacks. The stink is abominable, and much of the city has a yellowish hue. The river is so full of sulfur that it is virtually useless as a source of food or of drinking water. However, the demand for sulfur, especially from the sorcerers' guilds, is great. Politically, much has changed in the past few years. The old and corrupt king of Saqqara, Corin VII, has been deposed and executed in a military coup. General Grieve Marlock and the army now control Saqqara. The old council of Yellowport has been indefinitely dissolved, and a Provost Marshal Marlowe's Marlock, the general's brother, appointed as military governor of the town. To leave Yellowport by sea, buy or sell ships and cargo, go to the harbour master. Well, first off, let's stop off at the Gold Dust Tavern, which is a plush inn beside the city gates. The tavern costs you one shot. I'm not going to read through the how to use a tavern section every time we come to a tavern, okay? There we go, we'll get a point back. It's all fine. Now, we could conduct business in town, but I think for now... Okay. So, the Cleansing Flame is based on our maximum weapon damage, but it has a 6-turn cooldown, so we're not going to do it very often. Maybe once or twice a fight, twice in a particularly long fight. Which means that while maximum weapon damage is important to us... 4 to 7, it's for... Okay. 6, 5 costs, so we get a point left over to drink a potion or something if we want to. The 2 hex range is also good. Let's use the enchanted spear. Look, it's magical, okay? And we can sell off the old wooden staff. There we go. All shipping in and out of Yellowport must come through the offices of the Harbour Master. Here you can buy passage to Fabled Lands or even a ship of your own to fill with cargo and crew. Well, the ships are out of our price range, unfortunately, but let's book a passage to the Isle of the Druids. A bark heading for the Isle of the Druids to buy furs is prepared to take you, possibly a clue that furs are a good thing to purchase there. The journey across the Sea of Whispers is uneventful, and you dock at the trading post on the island a week or so later. And we're back here at the Isle of the Druids. Let's rest at the inn overnight, and then venture off into the forest, where we need to find the treetop village, right? So we found the tree, he lets us through again, and we return to the City of Trees. You give the willow staff to the Oak Druid of the City of Trees.
Ah, thank you, the Druid intones, going on. The willow staff, eh? I see.
As a reward, the Druid lets you train with the City of Trees' best hunters and trackers. Gain a point of scouting permanently, that's great. That has put our scouting up to a 6, which will come in useful for us. Also, we now can use... yeah. Let's go back to the trading post. And this is where we start to live dangerously, okay? Because... yeah, fine. We'll visit the Temple District and visit the Temple of Nagil. Nagil is the Lord of the Lands of the Dead, and his temple in the trading post is covered in friezes and gargoyles of ornate design depicting the souls of the dead on their journey to the underworld. Inside it is cool and dark, hung with black velvet drapes. A scroll tacked to the wall reads, "Wanted, person of unusual resources. At see Temple Warden." Let's go see the Temple Warden. The Warden is in charge of security.
We have had an unfortunate, accident, he says worriedly. In the crypt below the temple, we sometimes experiment with the corpses of the dead. You know, the occasional zombie, part of the rituals in honor of the particular aspect of Nagil we revere here. It seems a ghoul has escaped from these pits and is terrorizing the villagers at night. We'd rather someone like you sorted the problem out before the militia got to hear of it.
Destroy it and bring me the ghoul's head. We will absolutely accept this mission. Search for it at night, says the Warden as you leave. So, we will search at night. You set out that night on your quest to find the ghoul, and we have to make a magic roll. Difficulty 10. Now, the difficulty is not the target number. It's the number which we must surpass. We need to roll higher than this number to succeed. This is how high we can roll and still fail. We're adding 3 to the roll, so the odds are not quite in our favour. Nah, we failed that one. You're not sure where to start looking for the ghoul, so you wander around looking for stories, strange murders, anything that might put you on its trail, and we gotta make a scouting roll. Oh, fingers crossed. Oh, bollocks! And we've failed a quest. You have no luck in tracking down the ghoul. The next day you hear a rumour doing the rounds in the taverns. A ghoul was found and destroyed by an adventuring priestess of Turnai. Apparently the Temple of Nagil rewarded her handsomely. Looks like you were pipped at the post. That's unfortunate because the rewards for that one are pretty helpful. Oh well. We're done here. We'll go off to the Obsidian Stones and step through one of the archways to Yellowport. When your sight returns, you find yourself at the gates of a large city set on an ochre-coloured river. A vile stink of brimstone permeates the air. You wrinkle your face up in disgust and gag involuntarily. "Welcome to Yellowport," says a passing merchant. And we're back in Yellowport. That could have worked out better. We could have been handsomely rewarded. And it would have been very nice. Wow, it actually goes red. We could have got 500 shards, a free resurrection deal, or an amber wand. With those 500 shards, we could have purchased the climbing equipment we require. And here, it's cheaper. Oh well. Let's depart from Yellowport and head off towards Venafax. Venafax is a strange-looking village. It seems like a single gigantic building. All the houses are joined together to form a jumbled mass, and none of the houses have doors. The only way in is through holes in the rooftop. Ladders lead up to the roof, which in effect forms a network of streets that the inhabitants travel across to get to certain buildings. "We had to build it that way for defence," says a passing farmer. "You see, the scorpion men from the south cannot climb, so they can't get inside the town." Wandering around, you clamber down a ladder into a long, low hall, the Venafax Market. A sign reads, "Closed on Thursday." Fortunately, it's not Thursday, and a stocky, barrel-chested man with piggy eyes introduces himself as Furs, the master of the market. There is not much for you to buy or sell in this provincial market. Items with no purchase price are not available locally. Let's explore the town a little. You think of the places that could be of potential interest to you in the strangest looking village you have seen so far. After a while, you narrow them down to a few useful possibilities. We don't need to visit the village healer, we're in pretty good shape, so let's chat with some villagers on the rooftop. A small boy runs up to you saying, "Help us! Help us! The man-eating, bloodthirsty gobbler has got my little sister!" His mother, a flaxen-haired beauty, comes up behind him. "Surely you mean bloodthirsty, not Thursday?" you ask. "Oh no," replies the young mother. "The man-eating, bloodthirsty gobbler is so named because it hunts only on Thursdays." The boy's name is Mikhail and his mother is Lynn. Her husband is away in the army, and her young daughter Haley has been taken by the beast last Thursday. Apparently, several people have disappeared, never to be seen again. "Please help us," plead the villagers. We will absolutely help them. You wait until Thursday. Lynn tells you that the disappearances happen a little way out of town, near an old farmhouse. Well, surely people should just stop going there then. As you leave town, you notice Fours, the master of the market, heading in the opposite direction. Let's see what he's up to. After a while, Fours circles round, heading across country. Let's follow. You trail Fours to the old farm. He goes inside and you creep to see what he is doing. 3 rough-looking thugs are helping Fours get into what is obviously a monster suit. It's a bit like a giant hairy toad made of the hide of some animal stretched over a wooden framework. So much for the dreaded Gobbler. You wait by the door. As the thugs emerge, you club one to the ground, but you'll have to fight the other 2. Let's do it. Now, okay, we can't get anybody there. Let's just move to here and let them approach. We'll lay a curse on this thug here. Well, rather the, yes, and then the cleansing flame. Now, the additional damage we gain from the cleansing flame, that would be 7 plus 20% of 7. That would be like 8, maybe 9. 7's going to take either of them out anyway. So if we go for the one we haven't cursed, we're less likely to take damage from the one we have. There we go. And we bopped him 1. Well, stabbed him with our magic spear. After the beating you served Fours and his accomplices, you wake him up with a bucket of cold water. He is eager to run off, but at the sight of a hardened adventurer rather than a timid villager, he surrenders and confesses all. He terrified people with a monster disguise to keep them away from the farm. He and his men were kidnapping villagers, chaining them in the cellar below and selling them to a slaver from Karambaru for work in the slave mines. You find Haley and several other villagers down below in the cellar. "Oh, don't hurt me," begs Fours. "I'm only trying to make a few shards." "What? By selling your own people into slavery?" says one of the villagers, giving him a good kick. You lead them back to Venafax. Haley runs into her mother's arms for a tearful reunion. Lynn, the mother, gives you a suit of chainmail and a sword, an ordinary weapon. Look, it's still a weapon, right? We're taking that, and we're taking that. "These have been in the family for generations. It's all I can give," she says. Fours is hauled off to the local magistrate for judgment. He will probably be sold into slavery. Now, we have much nicer armor. This will increase our defense, so we'd be better able to withstand attacks. This sword is not as... It costs less action points to attack, so we would be able to move and attack with it. Let's hold on to it for now, alright? We've earned it. Let's pop it over here as a reminder that it's something we want to keep. And I'm going to sell our old suit of leather armor here. I'm not going to sell the sword to the people who gave it to me. That's just insulting. Especially if someone else in the town buys it, and Lynn has to see the sword that's been in her family for generations in someone else's grasp. It could taunt her. It wouldn't be nice, you know? Let's depart from Venafax and head up the eastern road. You're on the road between the Blessed Springs and Venafax. Pilgrims, the sick and injured, travel this route to the holy waters of Blessed Springs to find salvation. Great! Nothing unusual happens. That's probably a good thing. The village of Blessed Springs, nestling at the foot of a tall hill, has grown up around the holy waters. A special spring said to have healing powers. It has been fenced off by the villagers and a priesthood appointed to supervise the supplicants who come to bathe or drink of the spring's waters. There is no market, but an alchemist has set up shop here. We would like to visit the holy waters. Because we have a vial of yellow powder, we have been instructed to pour into those waters. You have heard stories of the Holy Spring and its healing powers. It's also possible that the ghoul could have infected us with ghoul fever and we could come here to be cleansed of that. The village has basically grown up around it, and you have limited places to openly go to due to the guards hired by the priest of Mulhern to patrol the area. Still, you think that you can pay a visit to... might as well go to the Holy Waters. A wooden stockade encloses the springs. At the gate, 2 militiamen stand on guard, and a priest dressed in blue robes sits behind a desk. 35 shards to enjoy the divine spa, says the priest. We will pay the 35 shards. You find a wide pool of bubbling electric blue water. It gives off a strong, invigorating scent like crushed pine leaves. We have a vial of yellow dust. You scatter the powder on the surface of the waters. There is a flash, and a cloud of yellow smoke billows up out of the pond. When it clears, you find yourself facing a man with a white-bearded face to face with a white-bearded, bespectacled old man floating a few feet off the water. He is dressed in long, flowing, ornate robes. He blinks at you for a moment before saying, "Ah, thank you. That worthless apprentice of mine. Can you imagine? I told him to throw the dust into the holy waters, but the idiot couldn't even be trusted to do that." The old man's name is Olifard the Wizardly. As a reward, he casts a spell that enhances your skill. Add 1 to the ability of your choice permanently. Now, that's +2, so that's a 2. Our lowest abilities are combat and thievery. We are likely to get into the occasional scrape once in a while, so increasing combat will be good, as it will also boost our defense, as defense is our combat stat plus our armor defense bonus. It would be nice to increase magic and charisma. We already have good sanctity and scouting. Thievery we may need occasionally, but not too often. So, I think this time I'll go for combat. Just build up her martial prowess a little.
"Ah, I see you have some powers in the arcane arts," says Olifard the Wizardly. "There is something I need. If you can get it for me, I will teach you how to advance as a mage. It was Vase, the sea dragon, who turned me into powder. He stole my magic chest, in which I store all my magical equipment. Without it, I am virtually powerless. Meet me in Trefoil when you have it."
We will accept the task. Where is Vase, you ask?
"Why, in the Lake of the Sea Dragon, of course," he replies.
As he leaves, Olifard gives you an amulet of protection, which will come in very useful should we encounter the sea dragon. I'll pop that over here as a reminder that it's important. Let's bathe in the waters. You strip off and wade into the bubbling waters. The effect is astonishing. You feel a sense of well-being coursing through your body. If you are suffering from disease or poison, you are cured instantly and can restore your abilities to normal. When you are ready, you leave the area. We do not yet have enough money to purchase any climbing equipment. Let's head off into the countryside and see if we can find a little bit of money somewhere. You're crossing an open expanse of flinty ground. A few herds of sheep roam the hills. You meet a shepherd, who gives you a wolf pelt. We'll have that. The road is nearly blocked by wagons and supply convoys. A troop of soldiers forces its way through the throng. The men bang heads indiscriminately to clear people out of the way. Oh! Get bopped on the head. Lose a point of stamina. That's not nice. We'll head to Karambaru. Karambaru is a medium-sized town that acts as a way station between the citadel to the north and the rich towns to the south. It is a garrison town. Many supplies, arms, and soldiers move through Karambaru on the north-south trail. Shops, temples, traders, and the like have sprung up here to serve the needs of the military. There is also a sizable mining community, for the mines of Saqqara live in the Bronze Hills just outside of town, and a slave market where poor unfortunates sold into slavery are bought for work in the mines. The Karambaru market consists of several covered arcades. Much of its stock is for miners and soldiers, but it is run with business-like efficiency by the Saqqaran military. Let's go to market and sell this wolf pelt. That's good. We can also sell this sword. Sell it off to the town where the slaves were all sent to, taking their money back. A nice little bit of poetic justice here. Let us depart and head south once again. Oh, I should have rested. Nothing happens on the journey. We get to the roadside tavern. Let's get a point of stamina back. And then, Yellowport or Trefoil? I want to say Trefoil. The main road between Marlock City, Trefoil, and Karambaru is well maintained with regular guard posts. The Saqqarans are nothing if not efficient. An uneventful journey. The city of Trefoil is a terrifying vision of apocalyptic destruction. It had once been a thriving crossroads town, but now it is a burnt-out hulk. It was almost razed to the ground when it declared for the late king during the recent civil war and tried to hold out against the army of Grieve Marlock, the current Protector General of Saqqara. It was then sacked by the general's mercenaries, and General Marlock is now trying to rebuild it. Craftsmen are hard at work everywhere. We could visit Olafard the Wizardly or just head on our way. We can't get to Devil's Peak without going through Curstmoor, so let's go to Marlock City first. Oh, what am I doing? No, back to Trefoil. Okay. Bad omen doesn't hurt us because we have no blessings. Go to Yellowport and buy the cheaper climbing equipment. There we go. And now I believe we're all set off to head back to the Devil's Peak. And I think we'll go there in the very next episode. I'm going to say goodbye for now, and thank you all for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Cheerio everybody! Bye bye for now.